What's up guys, Nathan here, and today I want to talk about a common mistake that a lot of poker players make on the flop. Primarily what I'm talking about is continuation betting with the wrong hands on the wrong boards. And I'm going to walk you through in this video, step by step, a couple of hands with both middle pair and top pair to let you understand exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so let's jump right into it, starting with middle pair. Now, middle pair is a hand that often benefits from a delayed c-bet. Now, some of you might be asking yourself, what is a delayed c-bet? Well, number one, a c-bet is a continuation bet in poker. C-bet just being short for continuation bet. Now, what does that mean? It means that we raised before the flop and now we're considering betting again on the flop. That is a continuation bet. You are continuing your aggression in the hand. And a delayed c-bet, therefore, is delaying your c-bet until the turn. Often with hands like middle pair, and I'm going to get to top pair in a second, often these hands actually benefit from a delayed c-bet, and we'll talk about exactly why. Let's jump right into an example first, though. You raise king 10 offsuit on the button, and a tag tight and aggressive player calls in the big blinds. This is a really standard spot that I'm sure a lot of you guys have been in. You're going to be raising with a wide range in a steal seat like this. You're trying to steal the blinds, and one of these tight but aggressive regulars calls you in the big blinds. It's going to have a fairly wide range in a spot like this. This player, of course, is getting the big blind discount, meaning that they've already put in a big blind in the pot. So in order to call your 2x or 2.5x raise, they're already getting a significant discount. So they're already getting a great price, essentially. So they're going to be calling with a fairly wide range in this spot. So with that said, let's go to the flop. Flop comes down with the ace of clubs, king of clubs, nine of hearts. So pretty good flop, not too bad. Now, a lot of amateurs are going to look at this. Actually, let's check it out first. The tag player does check to us. Remember, we're going to be last act here. We're on the button. Tag player checks to us, and a lot of amateurs are going to look at this spot and they're going to go, oh, well, I have middle pair. I've got a strong hand. I got to make a bet here. But actually, that's not really always the best play in this situation. Number one, let's remember we're up against an aggressive player type here. This is a hand we do not want to get raised with. It's something you need to always ask yourself when you're going into a hand. If I get raised here, what am I going to do? I don't think we really have a good answer in this spot here because we have king 10. We have middle pair with a mediocre kicker. Pretty much as plain Jane of a hand as you can get. Good hand, but decent hand. It's definitely ahead of most of his range and certainly ahead of all his bluffs, but we're not beating any of his value hands at all. Any hand, even if he's got like king jack, he's ahead of us. So number one, we don't want to get raised here. Number two, this is an action heavy board that there are a lot of ways that this player could have hit this board and they're going to continue. We'd like to just take the pot down. I don't think we're going to get a fold that often on this board. And for reasons I'm going to discuss at the end of this video, this is an excellent spot to simply create deception value and induce a tight and aggressive player like this to start bluffing. Often middle pair hands actually create great bluff catchers. They're often better played in that manner. I'm not saying you should never bet this hand for value here. We definitely want to be mixing up our play. But by checking behind here on the flop, we disguise the strength of our hand, and we either induce them to start bluffing on the turn into us, an aggressive player like this, or we can start getting that value on the turn, because if they check to us on the turn, we're going to make a bet then, and they're not going to think that we have something as strong as a king. So guys, I hope for all these reasons you guys understand the logic behind why a delayed c-bet is often a better decision with a hand like middle pair. Let's talk about top pair. So the same logic often applies to a hand like top pair bad kicker. You're once again in one of those situations where you're often not going to get action from a worse hand. And so often checking behind gives us more maneuverability later on in the hand, disguises the strength of our hand, allows us to get that value in on later streets, and so on. Let's look at an example. We raise ace 2 suited this time on the button, and a lag loose and aggressive player calls in the big blind. So once again, this player's getting the big blind discount. They're going to have a wide range here. There's not really any point in going through their entire range here. It's going to be a lot of different hands, anything reasonably playable. Once again, an aggressive regular in this spot here. Flop comes down. with an ace of clubs, 8 of hearts, 4 of spades. Not a bad flop for us. We have the backdoor nut flush draw, and we also have top pair no kicker. But this is one of these situations, once again, where you just need to ask yourself, if we get raised here, are you really happy? Do you want to play a big pot here with your top pair no kicker at all? And you need to remember, guys, we're up against an loose and aggressive player here. These are the players who love to check raise the flop the most. So a lot of people ask me all the time, how do you play against these wild, loose players? Well, don't give them the opportunity. Don't open up that door for them to make a big bluff against you when you don't want to be bluffed. And this is a perfect example of a situation where we don't want to play a big pot. We don't want to open the door for this player to start bluffing. Now, yes, we should make a c-bet here from time to time to balance our range, but this is another situation, just like with middle pair we just discussed. When you have a hand like top pair bad kicker, I think this is an excellent spot to make a delayed c-bet most of the time. Remember, guys, we're going to get the value in later on in the hand on the turn and river. We're never going to get 3 streets of value with this hand anyways, okay? There's no lag in today's games. It's bad enough that it's just going to call down with 8-9 the entire way here on the flop, turn, and river. We're only probably going to get 2 streets of value maximum versus a hand like that. So it's okay if we check right now and disguise the strength of our hand, because again, we're going to get those bets in. If he checks to us on the turn, we're going to make a bet. The strength of our hand is disguised, of course, and that's going to lead us to get that value in. So on this flop, lag checks, what should you do? Check behind. All right, so let's sum up here why a delayed c-bet works so awesome. Number 1, hides the strength of your hand. When you check behind on those flops in the previous hands, they're not thinking that you have a king or that you have an ace. They're thinking you have nothing. This is just a simple way that most people think about the game. They see you check, they think weakness. But that, of course, is not the case here. We are checking behind with a relatively strong hand, actually. Number 2, it creates deception value. So building off of that last point, I discussed the idea of deception value in my latest book, The Micro Stakes Playbook, and I talk about how it allows you to get more value by inducing bluffs from aggressive players like this. You notice in both of the examples in this video were aggressive players. I don't use the delay c-bet anywhere near as much against a nitty passive player. Often the best play is just to go ahead and make a c-bet versus those players, because nothing tricky is going to come out of them. They're just going to fold. They're not going to raise you. And often they're not going to bluff at it later on in the hand as well. One of the most beautiful things about using a delayed c-bet against the aggressive regulars, the tags and the lags, is very often when you check behind on the flop, guess what they're going to do? They're going to assume we have nothing, and they're going to start bluffing at it on the turn and potentially river as well. And we can often just call down, and many times they're just on a complete stone cold airball bluff, and we end up getting way more value out of our hand by opening them the door to bluff at the pot, allowing an aggressive player to do what aggressive players love to do, than if we had have decided to just take the standard line and to bet and to essentially prevent them from bluffing against us. So like I said, great for inducing bluffs against aggressive players. If you guys want to start mixing these delayed c-bets into your game, do it in these situations with middle pair, top pair, bad kicker against aggressive players. And lastly, it just mixes up your range. It constantly keeps people guessing. They learn that you can actually check behind with top pair, that you're not always betting top pair, because if you're always betting top pair, you're very, very easy to play against, guys. It's really important that you're able to check back with all types of hands, by the way, with extremely strong hands like an overpair or 2-pair and with draws. But the hands that I love to do it with the most are the ones that I discussed in this video: middle pair and top pair bad kicker against aggressive players. I think if you start using this strategy in your games, you might start seeing a lot more success at the poker tables. All right, guys, so that's all I got for this one. Make sure you're subscribed here to the channel if you want to see more poker videos like this, as I'm putting them out every week. And also shove all in on that like button below if you found any helpfulness in this video at all. And lastly, I'll leave a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. That'll be the top link in the description below. That'll give you my complete guide to start smashing the small and mid stakes poker games. All right, guys, I will catch you next time. I'll leave one more video I made recently right here that I think will help you guys out some more. Thanks a lot for watching. As always, guys, this has been Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com.